I'll start with you, Mr. Smabwating, on this one. We know about the Subah contract sometime in 2010, and now the revelation that is coming to us, we have seen documents that suggest that until 2013, Subah had not been introduced to the telcos, not one single telco that they had been engaged to do this job. The committee's reports, people are faulting the report from various angles. I don't know where you take it from.
Thank you very much. I take it from the fact that this is a whole serious mess. And indeed, I even suspect, and probably rightly so, that the whole idea about the economic forum to Senche was to cover up. That's my personal view.
Was to cover up what?
What is the revelations coming up? In fact, indeed, everybody's been sidetracked into dealing with these practices, into these leakages, and now it's forum. I believe that Subah, when it was coming, they thought, let's get something to divert everybody's attention. And now Subah is gone. But thank you for bringing it up.
That's a serious one.
That is, I suspect. That's my suspicion. I have my suspicion. But it may be wrong. But I thank you for bringing the topic up. Indeed, if you look at the way Subah has been operating, GRA, which is the Ghana Revenue Authority, has been given a responsibility to go and collect our taxes, bring in money, revenue. We have problems with our deficit. Money coming in, where are they? We set targets at the ports and wherever we don't meet them. So go and collect it. It is your job. You cannot do it, you bring somebody in, fine. But you go through the process of making sure this is well done. And the law even covering that contract, I hear also ended up in Parliament in July 2013. In the meantime, 2010, they have entered into an agreement with Info Solutions, Subah Info Solutions, and basically started paying them money. And as you yourself said, Samson, a leaked letter dated the 12th of May 2014, just now, signed by the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. Indeed, the first point says, Mr. Minister, it is addressed to the Minister for
Finance.
Communications, Honorable Dr. E. Omanebuama, who is my younger brother, and I worked with him at the Flagstaff. In fact, indeed, this economic dialogue thing, he was with me at the Flagstaff House. He was then the news president. And then he used to come and I give him a job to do in trying to put all this dialogue together. Now this letter is addressed to my younger brother.
Minister of Finance and copied to him.
That's what I'm looking at. Minister of Communications.
Okay. We are looking at different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe it's
a copy. The content is the same.
It's the same.
Yes,
okay.
Go ahead.
But it says number one. Mr. Minister, dear Honorable Minister, and it says point one, mobile network operators were first introduced to Subah Info Solutions by a letter from the GRA dated 28th of October 2013. So, if they have been asked to do a job to collect taxes for the state on behalf of GRA from the telecommunication network operators, yet the operators had not been told that, look, there is Subah Info coming to do job for us. And he has not done anything. Yet, the Ministry, Finance, quickly starts paying them. So this is a serious scandal. And indeed, if
you put it that way, you would have left out something, because they had indicated, and the report also confirms that they had access to the call
yes, they did.
Data.
So they have put some gadgets so that they can monitor. So if they
just that the National Communication Authority, the NCA, has also come forward to suggest that the report is inaccurate to the extent that there's a suggestion that Subah got the call data records from the NCA. The NCA says it did not release any such to them.
Interesting.
They worked on the call data records. The information we are now also having is that the call data records, which the telcos submit to the NCA, are for international inbound traffic on which there is no communication service tax charged. So there's a difficulty. If those are what they audited, then how did they come by what they arrived at?
And how come that these things were known later on, but they had started paying them well before, from 2010. So basically, there's a gap of even 3 years where money had been paid to Subah, yet work somehow was not known that it was being done by this Subah Info Solutions. So there's a gap. And I find it very intriguing, especially when I said the Financial Administration Act, which is Act, sorry, if I can get my, it's here. It talks about Article 2, the duties of the minister. It says, 4, the minister may cause the inspection of books, records, and offices of a department. So, assuming that GRA is, because GRA comes under the Ministry of Finance Direct, and they are paying money to Subah Info Solutions, I would have thought that by somehow, revenue matter must be of major concern to the minister. The action is called for books. Look at them. And he would have noticed that, hey, hang on a minute, they have not even started work, or if they have started, the contract was not proper and all that. And we allow you to go. And now we're talking about 144 million gone out. I find it very sad. And this is where I go back to my in-law and say, look, there are leakages everywhere. We will go to a forum, we'll talk all the brofo, everything nicely.
Okay.
Yet we know the solution. The solution is block these ones, close the gap. And whatever money that you have, use it properly. Indeed, common fund, this assembly common fund is not going. So how do our local assemblies operate? We have put a district chief executive there, which I believe is from the government's office to work for the presidency. Yet he is crippled. How do you explain that? National Health Insurance Fund, no money going in there. Look at the GET Fund, no money going, contractors are struggling. There's a general economic problems out there. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, close the gap.
All right.
Block these leakages. Things will probably be better.
Let's stick to the facts of this particular case. And Abdul Malik, I understand that you have also, seen this particular information that's gone out to the minister, and it seems to suggest a certain protest to the report that's been, brought by the committee that was set up.
Well, to be honest with you, I just cited this document here. I'm sure by courtesy of your good self, and it's quite an interesting one. But I've been taking a look at the report and the attachments. I'm struck by something very significant. It doesn't appear as if the terms of reference of the committee was to investigate allegations that had been made in the media against Subah or GRA or both. Rather, if you read carefully the attachments and even the report itself, and this is quite significant, I'll read the 25th February 2014 letter by the Finance Minister, Mr. Tekpe. He says, in May 2013, I tasked a committee to review and renegotiate the service agreement between Revenue Agency Governing Board and Revsol/Subah Info Solutions Ghana Limited. The committee was further directed to ascertain the legality of the contract. So it means that there were 3 things at stake.
Right.
Review and renegotiate the contract, and determine the legality or otherwise of the contract. So there was nothing like investigating any allegation. I don't know if I'm making sense, but if you look at the terms of reference given, and so perhaps that is why initially when I heard that Subah itself had reps on the committee, GRA also had reps on the committee, I was struck by that audit.
Subah had 3 reps.
Yes, here. But since it wasn't an investigation, then clearly I cannot see the basis for those representations, because they were there to renegotiate a contract they had entered into. You got me? Yes. So really, then there was no point of a conflict of interest. They all were pursuing one interest.
There was no need at all, at least, to have spoken to any of the telcos?
No,
because it appears
you don't get.
Even though they were not
I'm dealing with things step by step.
They were also not invited at all.
I wanted to go step by step. First, dealing with the issue of the representation of Subah as well as GRA, and also to focus on what the purpose of the thing was. And that is clear based on the documentation available. So in my feeling, my gut feeling, is that the issues that were raised in the media are still unattended to. And it has been amplified by this letter from the chamber, is it the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications?
Right.
What I'm suggesting is that perhaps this report by the committee and this letter from the Chamber of Telecommunications and all the allegations that were made need to be reinvestigated. That's the point I'm making. That's the understanding, the way I feel about this, that there are still unanswered questions out there. And for the need for integrity of governance, the sake of transparency and accountability, it is in the interest of all those involved in this exercise that I think a proper, serious investigation is conducted. That's my feeling.
Has the investigation answered the terms of reference?
Where is the investigation? This one is not an investigation. I've just told you. This one, this report, committee's report on the service agreement between GRA and Subah Info Solutions, for me, it's not an investigation.
So there must be what?
It was a review and renegotiation of a contract that had been signed May 5th, 2010.
It was not to investigate.
With the subsidiary point that check the legality or otherwise of the contract. But there were many allegations that were made.
Correct.
And that this letter that has come has re-emphasized them. So I am saying that for the integrity of governance, for the credibility of all stakeholders involved, it is now that we need an investigation. All this can be working documents for the investigative committee. At this moment, I make no judgment.
Well, Nana, let me hear you before I go to the minister in charge of PPPs. The most critical point of the whole debate has been that Subah, to be able to perform its part of the contract, was to be able to physically connect its equipment to the physical nodes of the telcos.
But you know there were two aspects. There were two aspects to the contract.
This it couldn't do.
Yeah, it couldn't do the second one. The one you just mentioned.
Right.
Till the act was amended and now they are cooperating and they've done some inputting. But that's 2013, 2014.
Right.
Yes, it still doesn't answer the 2010 to 2013 thing.
The money that were paid.
Exactly. But Kweku, you didn't speak to also the revelation that from the point of signing the contract, it was up until sometime after October 2013 that the telcos were being informed or introduced to Subah.
Yes, but that's part of the reason why I said that this thing has reinforced the need for a proper, thorough investigation. But clearly there's a part of the mandate that Subah appeared to have undertaken. They also brought in some equipment at their own expense. So the 74, we're no longer talking of 144. We are talking of 74.
Right.
That's subject to verification. Value for money. You check the price or cost of the equipment that was brought in, whatever work has been done. And the report gives us a certain hint of things that were done. I'm sure if you go to page 6 of the report, Subah's expenses and capex of revenue project 2010-2014. All these things are subject to verification. They are verifiable.
The intriguing part of it is that the report in section 4, paragraph 3 says that, quote, Subah have been carrying out only monitoring relating to verification of the application of the correct CST, the CST rate, to the volume of traffic declared by the telcos, i.e., whether the various calls are taxed at the appropriate rate. This is done by Subah obtaining the CDRs, that's the call data records, on the volume of traffic supplied by the telcos to NCA containing the details of the traffic volumes they declare. The NCA makes it clear that they did not supply these CDRs to Subah. So what are we talking about? In any case, if these were supplied, we are told that the call data records, that's the CDRs, which the telcos submit to the NCA, are for international inbound traffic on which there is no CST, that's Communication Service Tax charge.
Yeah, see, you know, let's be clear here. What you just read, I'm not sure if it's the same document or it is, but the last line, this is done by Subah, obtaining the CDRs on the volume of traffic supplied by telcos to NCA, containing the details of the traffic volumes they declare.
That's correct.
There's no hint here that NCA supplied those CDRs to Subah.
Yeah, but they have come out.
The telcos supplied to NCA.
Yes.
NCA has not had contact with Subah.
Yes, but
because
that's the
Subah has not been introduced to NCA as, to telcos up to this time. Right.
So, but we should just be accurate with what we have read here. That there is no hint to the effect that NCA supplied Subah with the CDRs. So there will be no basis for NCA to deny.
The report confirms that NCA supplies them.
Where is it?
Which page? That's the report. That's
which page?
Subah. This is done. You just read that.
Yes.
This is done by Subah obtaining the CDRs on the volume of traffic supplied by the telcos to NCA, containing the details of the traffic volumes
Not that
declared.
NCA then subsequently supplied Subah with those CDRs.
Okay,
that's
now
what I want the clarification.
Right. So now we know the NCA has not supplied them.
Yeah, because nobody has said they supplied them. In my candid opinion, here in this report, it's not there.
My statement, it seems to be the same song over and over again. This is another example of bad administration that has lost its bearing, and it keeps doing and supporting businesses to do the wrong things to us as citizens. The PPP things that we're talking about, the public-private partnership.
I thought you were talking about Progressive People's Party.
Not the Progressive People's Party, not the Papa. This is the public-private partnership.
Which minister is
issue,
here?
Which the minister is here.
Minister is here.
Seems to be an opportunity that is bleeding this nation dry. We are talking about the fact that we don't have funding in this nation, and the General Secretary of the ruling party has suggested that we go and touch the Heritage Fund.
Can we speak direct to this matter?
Yeah, I'm building a party. We talk about what is happening at SADA. Payments are made to private businesses for projects and work undone. Now again, GRA, the body in charge of bringing taxes, and we talk about expanding the tax bracket and bringing in more, raising more income for the nation through this organization, is making payments to another private company for yet another work undone. From 2010 up to 2013, the companies, the institutions they are supposed to be liaising with, the telcos, knows not of the existence of the company. But we have made payments to those companies on supposedly activities that they have done with the telcos and the basis for payments. The president must act. Look, people are still sitting in office when the private journalists have uncovered 74 million rot in the system, and people are still sitting at their posts. There has been no shake-up. People are relaxing. This is the permissive cornucopianism that I'm talking about. We think that we can do whatever we want at any time. There is money flowing abundantly over the bowl, and people are just chopping left and right to the detriment of you and I. We claim that there is no money, but there is. The PPP has always maintained that there is abundant and sufficient money in the system to be able to do the transformation that we need. It is the basket that is fetching water. That is our problem in this particular nation. Look, this thing, I am surprised that people are sitting at their jobs. I am surprised that people are comfortable. Mr. Bako is right to say that the scope of the committee was not to do an investigation. So we still do not know, from an investigative perspective, what is actually the deeper rot that is there. Because the chairman of the committee is a consultant to GRA, and 3 people on the committee comes from the Subah company that stands accused of the malpractices. Government is not meeting its obligation to us as citizens. So when we ask, is there a leader in the country, people don't understand. A leader must stand up and take the decision. Look, the president is appointing over 4,000.
Are you not taking it too far? The president has responsibility over a number of institutions,
to over
right?
4,000 appointments.
Right.
Look,
no, but yes. So he appoints the people to take charge.
This is clear in the face. You need to let people step aside as investigation is going on. You need to act and let us gain confidence in the system, because this one is hitting at the core of our survival.
Okay,
GRA is where we get the resources from in order for us to maintain ourselves.
Let me bring the minister in charge of PPPs in here. Just hold on. Let me bring the minister in here. Now, Mr. Minister, when you hear the revelations to the point that the CDRs, that's the call data records, that Subah is purported to have received and audited, out of which it was gaining a certain percentage of whatever, those records do not constitute those that attract the communication service tax. And again, if he didn't get it from the NCA, the telcos supply it only to the NCA. If he didn't get it from the NCA, where was it getting it from? The telcos don't supply it to the GRA. They don't supply it to the GRA. So, I mean, what did he do? The telcos, we understand, are audited on site by the GRA itself. So how do you get all of these things? How do you appreciate all of that?
Well, thank you very much. If you will permit me to go back to a text message that says that if I say the court, and the fellow was saying the court the court finds the true cause,
whether there was murder or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't go to remake the law.
Yeah, the court interprets the law. In the course of interpretation, the Supreme Court, for example, can even change the law. So he was himself.
Okay, let's move on to Subah.
But let me get to this point. You see, this whole thing is founded on the basis of Act 2013 of the Communication Tax Law, which was amended in 2013. And it requires that all telcos should make their CDRs available to the Ministry of Communication, or that the Ministry of Finance should have direct physical access to their facilities and would have access also to their CDRs, their call data records, for the purpose of tax. And so GRA, acting on behalf of the Ministry of Finance, then entered into a legal relation with Subah. And the purpose was for them to do what would require us knowing the calls that are coming, and then be able to know the volume of calls and the incremental taxes resulting, so that you don't have the fraud going on. Now, that engagement would mean that if they sign that contract, then the Subah will have, every time there was an increment between what the GR is able to get and what, as a result of Subah, there was an increment in the tax revenue, they'll get 13.5% of it. The committee has found that there indeed was a contract, and there were certain aspects of the job or the contract that was not fully carried out by Subah Solutions, Info Solutions. So they have decided that even though there was a contract, they did not merit all the 13.5%. So they recommend a reduction of 12.5%. The Attorney General was asked to comment on it. They examined the case, and they came out to say that, well, there was a contract, and that in order to avoid a future judgment, what do you call it? Debt. Judgment debt, we could find a way of relating with them and finally legally exiting without just breaking it like that. That is the point. That is what I know about this whole thing.
Yes, but we are bringing to your attention some information.
Yes.
The telcos are saying, number one, a most critical part of the contract was for them to be able to physically connect their notes to that of the telcos. We know they were unable to do that.
Yeah.
And in fact, up until October 2013, you had not amended the law. And so there was that difficulty. You had now amended the law, which gave them that mandate to be able to do so. They were unable to do so from June or July 2010, when they were contracted, up to October 2013. So they couldn't do that physical. They couldn't do that physical monitoring.
How are they being paid?
Number two, they, in the absence of doing the physical monitoring, they could have access to the CDRs, which they would have used to do the monitoring. We are told now that the CDRs are submitted to NCA by the telcos. We do not know that the NCA gave them any CDRs. GRA is not giving the CDRs. In any case, if the CDRs, the ones we are talking about, given by the telcos to the NCA, are the ones that Subah audited, these CDRs contain what do not attract tax. Does not attract tax.
That's a very significant.
So what job?
So what
tax. So what job did they do to be paid? And you ought to be paid on the whole team must be incremental, you know, difference. Yes, difference. So what's going on?
I do agree perfectly with Mr. Kwekubako when he said that we need to go into the investigations to now know exactly what happened. And I know that the Ministry of Finance engaged some private auditing to be done on it, so that we will get to know exactly what happened, whether there was actually some payments made without work done, and etc., etc. And people are criticizing it. They are saying, no, that's another cost. And I even heard somebody talking about it as Subah Reloaded. You know, I mean, those are legitimate criticisms, because you have a legitimate government organizations that also does these things. But if you look at the totality of it, it's important that you know, we should go into it, do a thorough work, so that we can lay it to rest. And I think that is a logical way to go at this time.
Okay. Well, Mr. Subah, let me just read one more line, and then let's tell us this, what you think. Paragraph 8 of the executive summary reads, quote, "The committee believes that the increase in access lines cannot be contributed to the efforts of Subah." I suspect that's attributed to the efforts of Subah. "The value of access lines amounted to 21% increase in revenue between June 2010 and October 2013. The threshold was therefore increased by 21%. In other words, 21% of the incremental revenue is being deducted before the remainder is apportioned between Subah and government." Question: if Subah Info Solutions, this is the question, if Subah Info Solutions did not contribute to the increase in access lines between June 2010 and October 2013, as admitted by the committee, we've just read that, and it did not electronically audit telcos or analyze CDRs for the reasons explained, how do you fathom the basis for apportioning revenue between government and Subah?
And Samson, that's why I said to you that I am intrigued by this whole revelation, in the sense that GRA is a state institution mandated to bring in money. Basically, go and find the money so that we can pay our expenditure and all that. And I believe they have the staff to do the job. And sometimes I'm surprised that a state institution with all the capacity, the personnel, everything, and I believe if you go, probably our investigation would reveal that maybe staff even at the GRA are not happy. They will be surprised.
But we know on record also that they were doing this job anyway.
And they were doing the job. So the GRA people were doing, if you have extra money to give them, why don't you pay them extra incentives for them to go and collect the money? Rather, you go and bring Subah Info Solutions, and then even the job they're supposed to do, that attracts tax. They don't do that one. Yet we pay them. And then they said, and I believe, as I said, staff there are fuming, but we don't know. Let's go to the investigation. We give a way to find money to leak and go somewhere else. And this is where I find it very intriguing. Indeed, I believe, and that's why, you see, that's why my suspicion of even the whole timing of the forum came in. My suspicion is genuine.
Those is outrageous.
I'm coming. Listen. The president and the vice president, even the dialogue, the forum.
My friend, I think you should address the issue and forget about this.
In-law, relax.
They could have held on to it.
Yes. Let me tell you what. I've been in government before. So relax.
No, this is nothing to do with.
Trouble.
So are you saying that you don't?
No, listen. No. You have to look. You have to look deep. Listen, look. You have to. No. You have to look. No, what I'm saying is that you have to look deep.
This is what you are communicating to the public. That you did it before.
No, I said.
And you think somebody else is doing
my point.
it. Okay. Now go ahead.
Please don't do that. And that's why I say coming here, if you will hijack, then there's no point in coming here. Go back to them.
Occasionally it's allowed and it's good.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
You allow it.
Enjoy it.
Occasionally.
Listen to me carefully. There is a problem coming up. The government sees danger. Listen to me, they see danger. All along, the economic forum was supposed to be end of June. Indeed, the president on his Facebook says so. The vice president June. Then they bring it to me. Listen, they bring the forum to me when Subah is coming up.
But the Subah
government released it.
They released
it. Because that's what you.
So they could have held on to it.
They released it because even that's you admit.
Do you know when the World Cup is coming?
Don't you want me to stop?
Can we do this?
Mr. Pepper, but I'm making my point. I'm almost finishing.
But it's a point you have made before. So the point is that are you all on this table? Are you adding them? Are you in consensus that there ought to be a proper investigation in respect of the monies that were given to Subah?
I think it goes without saying. I think it goes without saying. But the point I'm making about being in government before is that sometimes problem is coming and you want to use propaganda to cover it.
Okay.
Did I hear use propaganda to cover the problem coming up.
Mr. Samawati, did I hear you say that this ought to be looked into properly?
Yes, and what I agree with. I understand the Ministry of Finance is setting up an audit on it. I will want to suggest that when the audit results comes out,
but you see, government has accepted this particular report and has directed the Communications Ministry, AGs, and Finance Ministry to implement it.
Yes, so let's wait for the audit report by the Ministry of Finance. I understand they are engaging a private auditing firm to do a thorough work on it to see whether there was any payment, whether the payment was done without any work done.
Reports
says that there was payment.
74 something
million. Could have brought a lot of
No, but you see, but you need some financial report to prove that these things happen. And if they happened, and we are not satisfied, it will be important to go deeper.
Why duplicate what you already
financial report?
Achieved.
The report, then they will put it in.
So I defer to Kweku.
You defer to Kweku. Listen to me. You defer the thing to Kweku.
I'm saying I defer to him.
To act on critical matters affecting the state is what we are talking about.
And this is assemblies are struggling.
People should be set aside. Then, with the last point I make in relation to district assembly, you can never have any economic development when you still refuse to elect municipal, metropolitan district chief executives.
Get the money to them first.
If they are not crying because they are appointed by government, if they were there by virtue of being elected into position, they will be crying about the lack of release of funding to the assembly for them to do real work. You see, the economic activity is not just Accra based, though. It's not Kumasi based. is at the doorstep of the people.
Okay.
So that they must be strengthened in order for economic activity.
So stop this brofu business and take the money to where it matters most.
By way of questions through text messages, I'd like you to address just about 2 of the questions that are coming in. This one says, the most important question which should be addressed, or which the committee should have addressed, is, was there any justification for the Finance Ministry and the GRA to pay the money they paid to Subah? That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there justification? No.
But what's the committee telling us? Koku?
But the committee was asked to go and review and negotiate a contract and determine the legality or otherwise. That's what they did. They didn't answer the questions you are asking.
Right.
That's why my view is that there is still room for proper, thorough investigation.
Okay. A very final one. This one too doesn't identify himself. He says that this is supposed to be the statement the president had made when the issue broke. He says, I have instructed the Ministry of Finance to review and advise on the suspension of the contract with Subah Info Solutions, seeing as the contract was not signed by appropriate authorized government representative. This is what the president said.
Yeah,
so where have we ended where we have ended?
The committee's report is saying that the board chairman, because of the nature of the GRA governing board, they had a mandate to sign, and that's why they are validating the legality. That's what they are doing. That's what the report is saying. That one, the man had the mandate.
But the president had sufficient information and made a conclusive, observation.
Yeah, this was the initial observation he made before the committee report. The committee has come out with a report and said that the one who signed the contract truly represented the the GRA, and so it was.
What
so didn't the president
may not have had the benefit of the advice of the Attorney General earlier. That's the point I'm making. That could be the implication. And I say could.
Yeah, but the president could have probably done investigation himself.
Maybe there was no need for
call to the Minister of Finance. Minister, how did this come up? Then he will go and ask, is he the authorized person to sign? And he says yes. That's telephone conversation that could have taken place.
There was even no need for a presidential reaction at that point in time, in my candid opinion.
The minister could have.
If you want to institute investigation, give them the proper terms of reference and let them focus. This was not an investigation.
I see. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Unfortunately, most of your text messages that have come in are still on the previous issues that we looked at. Inshira Edward says something upon all these consensus. If there is no political will to implement these issues, then the forum will just be a fiasco. Richard Agbana Ayawini says, please, can the PPP rep explain his wonderful word? In fact, he should spell it.
I cannot pronounce it.
We are very interested. And who is this? You didn't identify yourself. Is it Asari in Accra? Says, I was thinking we needed a short-term plan before coming to this medium to long-term solution. Did the forum address this? Okay. And you did identify yourself. Martin Luther says that the recommendations in the communique from the National Economic Forum any different from what Dr. Bahomia and the NPP have been saying all along? And that's a question that seems to run through quite a good number of the questions that have come in by text message.
Let me just say something. The last time I came here, I made a statement, and then the next moment your website said government has done something. When I speak here, I'm not issuing statements from governments. We are all speaking here as Ghanaians, projecting views and supporting a particular course of action.
Mr. Minister, it's important to acknowledge that when we invite you here, it is because the people...
But I'm not issuing statements for government.
The people have a right to know what government is doing about the situations with the issues we speak about.
If you ask me a question and say, what is government's opinion about this, I'll give you. But if we are discussing issues and issues are coming up, don't go and say government has issued a statement by Rashid Pelko.
I think what's important is subsequently for him to always clarify. If it's a personal opinion he's expressing, or if it's an official line.
Is there a capacity of his official
No, you
line?
could still be here in official capacity, but would want to express a personal.
I'm sure that even this Subah matter, we have just scratched the surface. Our time is up. My guests have been Abdul Malik Kwekubaku Jr., Abdul Malik Kwekubaku Jr., editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Nana Ofori Owusu is Director of Operations of the PPP. Asamoah Boateng is a former information minister. And presently, you are seeking to get into the NPP executive office?
Haven't publicly said so, but it's a party matter I'm dealing with. So let me
Thank you. Rashid Pelpo is at the presidency, and he is minister responsible for private partnerships. Thank you very much. I'm Samson Ladia. The show